Hey guys, and welcome back to Darnyougluten. This week I'm going to share with you one of my favourite Christmas recipes, and I have been making some sort of variation of this recipe ever since I was this big. I don't know how old I was. Anyway, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and let's get cooking. The ingredients you will need are 160 grams of rice flour, 70 grams of tapioca flour, 40 grams of white sugar, 40 grams of brown sugar, 2 small teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 110 grams of butter, and 150 grams of golden syrup. Start by sifting the rice flour, tapioca flour, white sugar, brown sugar, bicarbonate of soda, and ground ginger into a large mixing bowl. Lightly mix them together, then add the cubed butter. With your hands, mix the butter into the dry ingredients by lightly massaging the butter until it looks like lots of little crumbs. The dry ingredients should envelop the butter completely until you can't tell the two apart. Once that's done, add the golden syrup. Again, using your hands, mix the ingredients together until a uniform dough forms. It will start off by being very sticky and it will mainly be all over your fingers, but just keep at it, and before you know it, it will have formed a dough that holds its shape and isn't too sticky. Now sift some flour onto a dry, flat surface. I used a 50-50 mix of white rice flour and tapioca flour. Place some of the dough onto the surface, then sprinkle some more flour onto the rolling pin. And carefully roll it out, trying to apply an even pressure on the rolling pin at all times, and roll the dough until it is about 3 to 5 millimeters thick. If you want to make a wreath, make sure you know how big your disc is going to be and roll out enough dough for that. I used a large plate and the bottom of a cake tin as a template. So after rolling out my dough, I traced around my plate with the tip of a sharp knife, removed the plate, then placed the bottom of the cake tin more or less in the centre, but because it will be covered in biscuits, it doesn't have to be perfect. The easiest and probably the best way to ensure that the whole wreath base makes it onto the oven tray in one piece would be to roll the dough out directly onto some greaseproof paper or a non-stick sheet, and then simply remove the excess dough once you've cut around your template, and then transfer that sheet onto your oven tray. Or you can just do what I did and try to move it with the help of a metal spatula and possibly end up snapping it in half at some point. But if you do that, don't worry, just stick them back together and smooth out the connection with your fingers, and once it's baked you won't be able to see the join, and as I just mentioned before, other biscuits will be placed on top of this one, so it doesn't really have to look perfect. Cut out as many other biscuits as you have dough for, using whichever shapes you want. I used a star, a Christmas tree, and a mini gingerbread man because that's what I had that was Christmassy. But I'm sure this would work with pretty much anything, especially holly leaves or snowflakes. So, delicately place your biscuits on an oven tray, taking care to leave plenty of space between them as they will spread a little as well as puffing up slightly. And then bake in an oven that has been preheated to 190 degrees Celsius for 8 to 10 minutes, depending on how crispy you like them. They should have a deep golden colour and smell just like gingerbread men should smell. When you take them out of the oven, do not touch them until they have cooled completely, or they will just fall apart in your hands. But once they've cooled, they'll be a solid biscuity biscuit. You can of course leave it here if you simply want some plain gingerbread biscuits. I often just do that. Just make sure to store them in an airtight container or they'll go soft pretty quickly, or at least much quicker than non-gluten-free biscuits. If however you are making the wreath, then along with your shaped gingerbread biscuits and the wreath base that we prepared before, you'll need some white chocolate, some dark chocolate, some gel colouring, some edible glitter, some round icing tips, the size will vary depending on the size of your biscuits obviously, and some strong freezer bags with a corner cut out of the bottom. Melt your chocolate either in the microwave or over a double boiler, taking care not to burn it. If you're using candy melts or other such compound chocolate, just go ahead and melt it all. If, however, you're using real chocolate, which means chocolate that contains cocoa butter, you'll need to temper it, and the easiest way to do that is to melt it until about 3/4 of the chocolate is liquid, and then stir in the rest until you have a smooth liquid chocolate. At this point you can add in your gel colouring, whichever colour suits your needs depending on the shapes of your biscuits. Pour the chocolate into your freezer bag that has been fitted with your tip and start icing away. I simply like to follow the outlines of the biscuit to define their shape and not overpower them with chocolate, but feel free to fill them in completely. And repeat the process with your different colours / chocolates, and sprinkle some edible glitter over everything to make them extra festive. Because seriously, they look so out of the ordinary when they're sitting there glittering away in the warm glow of the fairy lights from the tree. Now, don't throw away any excess chocolate you have between each colour or type of chocolate, because you can use that as the glue. Prepare your wreath base by sticking it onto whichever support you want to present it on. So place a few dollops of chocolate on the back of the wreath and place it onto the support. Then roughly decide which biscuits are going to be placed where on the wreath and start sticking them on. You place little dabs of melted chocolate on the back of each biscuit and gently place them on the wreath. Don't press down too hard or the biscuits will snap. But do make sure that they are touching the biscuit underneath, obviously, because otherwise they won't hold on. And once the chocolate sets, they will all hold together. And there you'll have it, a jolly edible Christmas wreath. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time in 2016. Bye!